My name is Matthew Hudson.
My name is Diego Barron.
Today, we are going to be doing a presentation on the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Volcanoes are some of nature's most destructive phenomena. A volcano is when the magma from below Earth's crust has pressure and temperature build up and push it up and out through the cone of the volcano. Throughout history, volcanoes have developed such a negative reputation that it has forced them to be looked at as some form of a travesty. Some examples of these events are the eruptions of Mount Vesuvius, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Tambora. Each of these is looked at as to cause irreversible damage, but what if there was a new direction to look at them from? What if there was a way to glorify volcanoes and change how society viewed them? Class application. How will we utilize what we have learned from this class in our presentation today? First off, what have we learned? In Dr. Sundberg's History of Unnatural Disasters class, we have explored many different types of unnatural or natural disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, fires, volcanic eruptions, or hurricanes. And these types of disasters cover many different topics, such as the technocratic paradigm, which is how society has evolved with the advancements of technology and how they intertwine together. Another example is a difference in the upper, middle, and lower class and how economic/social status have affected their response or experience of these disasters. Empathy versus pity, how society looks at people of poverty, whether it's looking down at them or it's looking at them. And lastly, gender roles. But we have decided to take a different route, covering a different topic that we have not discussed in this class.
This different topic that we will be discussing is Romanticism. Now, many of you may have learned about Romanticism in your past, whether it was in your past AP European history class like I did. And when my teacher taught us about Romanticism, he taught us it was just this movement of paintings and poetry. But Romanticism is more than just paintings and poetry. Paintings and poetry are a big part of Romanticism, and we'll touch on it later. But Romanticism is an idea. And to understand Romanticism, one has to understand the sublime. The sublime is a respect for nature. You know, with nature comes terror, nature comes darkness. But in that terror and darkness, you can find the beauty, and that's the sublime. In Vesuvius, a town was destroyed, lives were lost, but we are here to try to glorify and romanticize the events, not only of Vesuvius, but of any destructive volcano that has happened.
What exactly is Mount Vesuvius? What disaster are we talking about? Mount Vesuvius is an active volcano that lies above the Bay of Naples on the plain of Campania in southern Italy. The eruption took place on August 24th, 79 AD, burying the cities of Pompeii, Ablantis, and Stabai under ashes. It was estimated that the height of the mountain in AD 79 was to be in the 5,000 to 5,500 foot range. Sources Britannica. Over 2,000 people were estimated to be killed. Not only that, these towns were affected for generations to come, whether it was shelter, food, economically, anything. It was set back years. Mount Vesuvius was an eruption that is notably remembered to harm lots of individuals, giving it a large condemnation. While all of this negative energy surrounds the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and volcanoes in general, in our presentation today, we provide a positive spin-off and a new point of view, giving people a new perspective on these types of disasters.
As mentioned before, 2,000 lives were lost in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. It was a brutal disaster that not only took the lives of many people, but damaged the forestation and the wildlife that surrounded it. On the screen is a painting from 1761 that was painted by Pietro Fabris. This is a depiction of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius from Fabris's point of view. This dark, gloomy event that filled up the sky with black ash has been depicted in these bright colors. This is what many Romantic era painters tried to do. They took an objectively horrific event and tried to find the beauty that lied within it. In 1984, a historian, Mark Cheetham, put out an article titled A Taste for Phenomena. In this article, he dives into how romantic artists and poets, or even past romantic or post-romantic artists and poets, such as Emily Dickinson and Jacques Villers, used volcanoes as almost metaphors to try and connect to the sublime. Cheetham explains how volcanoes are more than just natural features. They represent human passion and human creativity. Mount Vesuvius was the first disaster of its kind to be romanticized in this way. It had, but it was certainly not the last. Mount Vesuvius set a precedent for generations to come, as books, songs, paintings, even poetry have been used to glorify many different other eruptions that have taken place. In 1816, Lord Byron composed a poem titled Darkness. It reflected the eruption of Mount Tambora that took place in Indonesia. This poem paints the volcano as a symbol of darkness. It paints the poem as a symbol of darkness and tries to connect this darkness to the apocalyptic consequences of humanity's actions. Lord Byron also tries to encapsulate the sublime, the darkness he sees in the black ash-covered sky of Mount Tambora. He really tries to explain the destructive volcanoes in a pessimistic viewpoint. People didn't see it in this pessimistic viewpoint, though. They thought Lord Byron was encapsulating the darkness and glorifying the darkness. They thought just because it was poetry, it had been glorified, it had been romanticized, so people would look past this. In 2020, the Washington University Post put out an article titled, In the Path of Destruction, Eyewitness Chronicles of the Eruption of Mount St. Helens. In this article, a group of Oregon State hikers decided they wanted to try and hike Mount St. Helens. People in the area advised them to steer clear of the mountain as it was an active volcano. 2 weeks later, the volcano would erupt. But as Matthew mentioned earlier, a volcano is supposed to erupt out of the top. Mount St. Helens didn't do this. It blasted out of the side, killing 57 people either from the impact of the volcano or from the ash resulting from the volcano. In 2015, the USA Today put out an article explaining how David A. Johnston and Reed Blackburn, two people fascinated by volcanoes, especially the volcano of Mount St. Helens, set up a post that was supposed to be far enough location for the eruption and its radius. The radius expanded way farther than historians and scientists had thought, as it expanded 16 miles. Their post was within this 16-mile radius, and both of these people were killed. If we hadn't set the precedent of volcanoes being romanticized in the past, would these hikers have even thought to hike this mountain? Would David A. Johnston and Reed Blackburn have even set up a post this close to the volcano? It's not just the past that these volcanoes have been romanticized. We see depictions of volcanoes being romanticized today. I bet many of you have heard of the song Pompeii. And I bet many of you don't know that my lip sync group for the first week of school was Bastille. In this, I was dancing to the song Pompeii up on a stage. In front of hundreds of people, I was dancing to a song about a volcano that took the lives of 2,000 people and destroyed the forestation around it. This is how we have romanticized volcanoes. You have 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds sitting in the back of their parents' car singing to these songs. You know, the song about Pompeii, the song about Mount Vesuvius volcano that literally buried multiple cities, and we have just taken it and we have romanticized it. Our presentation has died, but we will roll on. So as we've mentioned, we've dug into those painters, poets, and philosophers who have romanticized these disasters, but there are those who believe that there are no underlying causes or metaphors within a disaster and that it is simply natural. In an article from 2016 titled Embarrassing Depiction in 19th Century Paintings, William Strout explains that there is no symbolism in disasters. Disasters are not created by humans. Disasters are not sent from God. Disasters are simply natural. This viewpoint is dangerous. Not only have we studied examples of how climate change affects the ocean temperatures and causes these ocean temperatures to rise, creating more severe hurricanes, or how the rising global temperatures have increased the frequency of wildfires. But we have taken this viewpoint and it has become dangerous for some of us. Because if we are not prepared for these disasters, and if we as a society believe that these disasters are not human-made, then we are going to do nothing to stop these disasters and we will not be prepared for the ones in the future.
With that being said, seeing both sides of a volcanic eruption, is romanticism dangerous? Could the effects of romanticizing death, destruction, and vulnerability be harmful to what we've learned in this class and or people in general? An example previously stated by Diego from USA Today explained David A. Johnson and Reed Blackburn, two observers that set up a post to watch from afar, ended up tragically dying from the eruption of Mount St. Helens because it shot out from the side instead of straight up usual. With that being said, does romanticism cause an underminement of disasters and their danger? While these dangers are present, romanticism still sheds light on the dark disasters that gives us a positive, beautiful, sublime perspective that symbolizes the human spirit.